you very much, all. Next question goes to Simon Ateba from Today News Africa. Simon, please unmute yourself.
Thank you for taking my question. This is Simon Ateba with Today News Africa in Washington, D.C. I would like the WHO to react to recent report that a small number of people, very small number of people who had been fully vaccinated have tested positive for the coronavirus. I was wondering what that means and how long do various vaccines protect against the virus? And if you may allow me, on President Biden, his administration would like to share the AstraZeneca vaccine is not using now by July. I was wondering if the WHO MD has called the White House to ask for those vaccines now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simon, and we'll hand to Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, Chief Scientist.
Yes, thank you for that question. I think we need to understand what is expected of vaccines and how they work. We are very fortunate that the majority of vaccines that have been developed and tested are highly effective against preventing disease, and particularly against preventing the severe forms of the disease, which result in people having to be hospitalized and needing critical care and ventilation. So again, majority of vaccines approved till now, almost all of them that are being used, are accompanied by reductions in the need for hospitalization and definitely in the deaths that occur in the groups that are being immunized. However, these vaccines are all not 100% effective against preventing infection. The good news is that they do prevent infection in the range of 70 to 80%, again, from the data that's coming out now from real-world studies in countries that are scaling vaccination. We are learning more and more about how these vaccines behave at the population level rather than how they behave at the in clinical trials. So we know that they do protect against infection, but not completely. So you can still get infected. You can have asymptomatic or a mild illness or even moderate symptoms even after being vaccinated. So that's not a complete surprise. And again, that's why the WHO has said that vaccination alone is not a guarantee against infection or against being able to transmit that infection to others. It may be a rare occurrence, but it could still occur. And that's why we need the other protective measures like the mask wearing and the distancing and so on, till countries get to the level at which a large number of people are protected and where virus circulation and the transmission goes to very low levels, as Dr. Ryan was explaining. So very few countries are at the point now where they can drop, these measures by individuals and by governments because the virus is at such low levels. In most countries, we still need to continue to do that. What is also important is, on the research side, is to continue to document the performance of vaccines. And so the WHO has put out guidance on designs for research studies, both for randomized trials when you're testing a vaccine for the first time or comparing different vaccines, but also for vaccine effectiveness studies. Once they're being rolled out, we need to study both the effectiveness and the safety of these vaccines, and different populations, countries have used different regimes. Some have used standard duration of the gap between the first and second dose. Other countries have used longer gaps. Some have used a mix and match approach for the second dose. So all of this, if it's documented properly, will give us a lot of information. And finally, I think we also need to continue to do the studies with the efficacy of the vaccines against the different variants. As we're seeing these different variants emerge and increase in numbers, we need to accompany the effectiveness studies with sequencing of the breakthrough infections so that we can also do an analysis and understand about vaccine efficacy against particular variants. Again, at this point in time, most of the vaccines in use are effective against severe disease, whatever the variant that's circulating in the country. But this is an evolving area, and we need to continue to collect high-quality information. Thank you.
Thank you. And for part two, we'll go to Dr. Bruce Elwood.
Thank you very much, Christian. And to the point that Sonia just made, there was sometimes we talk at the population level about the impact of vaccines and the possibility of breakthrough transmission, et cetera. There was a very nice piece actually yesterday by a journalist actually who'd been fully vaccinated, did actually get the disease, and then just contrasted his situation with another person who had a very similar age, situation to that he did. It was a science journalist who wrote a very nice piece and just contrasted the clinical course that they made and really brought to life that while he may still get infected, he thinks it was the vaccine that probably saved his life. And a journalist with a lot of experience in science reporting, I thought it was an interesting piece to see it at that human level. In terms of that second issue about donations of vaccines and whether we're in touch with countries that have the potential to donate to COVAX in particular, yes, absolutely. I think there was a specific question, Simon, you had, are we in touch with the United States? And absolutely, and we have been for some time, and the U.S. has been absolutely fantastic in reaching out to us as well. It's a two-way conversation about how to optimize the use of potential doses. And this is not an issue unique to that country. We're in conversations with many, many countries that have potentially can provide some of their doses. And we have to be careful because we often talk about excess or surplus doses. And, these countries all explain, like we talked about last week with Sweden, that no one has surplus doses. Everyone's trying to use all of their doses to the greatest possible impact, but they recognize that sharing those doses may help ensure greater impact overall. And in that regard, what countries are looking at is, how could they have the greatest reach, get to the most countries? And that is through COVAX. We've gotten to 122 countries, some of the most disadvantaged. How can they get out there as fast as possible? And clearly, that's through COVAX. After the French signed the agreement, within 24 hours, the doses were in the target country. We were working out with Mauritania. How can they have the highest possible impact and most equitable distribution? Again, through COVAX. We have that global view through the COVAX facility to ensure that countries that aren't receiving enough doses to reach their healthcare workers, reach their older populations, can reach them. So that's the conversation, Simon. It's with a very broad range of countries. It's an ongoing discussion. And, with the United States in particular, they've highlighted that they want to be ready when the doses are ready, because there is still, there's this idea that there's a huge stockpile sitting somewhere, but there's a lot of work to releasing batches, ensuring that they've been through all the steps necessary. So we're working in parallel to ensure when doses can flow, they go as fast as possible to have as high an impact as possible in as many places as possible.